These are round flutes here.
Okay.
This one plays an octatonic scale, which I think other people call, I don't know, I've heard it called a double diminished or a diminished scale. One of Olivier Messiaen's modes of limited transposition.
Who is Olivier?
Olivier Messiaen was one of my favorite musicians, like a composer, French, very super Catholic, and he only cared about a few things in his life. He cared about birds, and so most of his music things are based on birds, and his rhythmic ideas were mostly from India. And he liked them to be, these are non-retrogradable scales, which means if you, they're very symmetrical, so that if you turn them around or something, they become the same thing.
Oh,
you know?
Interesting. That's cool.
And he liked rhythms that did that too. He's really great. Like he's, I could go on for an hour about him.
Very round.
Yeah. I could go on for hours about him. He's in a lot of ways, he's the last great composer of the European tradition. You know? And he was an organist.
And what era?
In the 20th century. He died. He died in '93, I think.
Okay.
You know, I got into him when I heard someone play his organ music in New York. I think it was Church of the Ascension, and he had a very organic sense of music, and he didn't. I also read a book that he wrote that clarified. It's really complicated music, so that if you were like a music student, you wouldn't get him till composition year 5, postgraduate, whatever.
Right.
You know, I think, but in his book, it's really simple. He just has these symmetrical things, and they make these blocks of sound, and he really thinks in terms of sound and not in terms of, you know, what existed as how you're supposed to do things. And he was the teacher of Pierre Boulez and Karl-Heinz Stockhausen, and who else was in there? Penderecki studied with him.
Okay.
I know it was Anarchestra did, and he just sort of sponsored this whole generation of musicians after him, who all turned out to be pretty interesting and pretty good.
Nice. And what was the book you were referring to?
The book is called The Technique of My Musical Language.
Wonderful.
And it was really hard to find, but the New York Public Library had it, and I got to read that.
Awesome.
You know, and it was awesome. It was like, yeah, there's not enough that could be said about how personal and complicated his world is. It's, I was really put off him for a long time because he's very religious. He was a devout Catholic, you know. And my thought of Catholics was like, they were the kind of guys that raped my friends when they were little kids, and you know, told my girlfriends they couldn't use birth control, and you know,
you're like, hey, they're not all bad.
Fuck these, you know, I really didn't want to have anything to do with that.
Yeah.
I kind of didn't listen to his music for many years because that put me off that.
Right.
Then the music was just so good, I had to listen to it. And I studied a lot about his life, and it was he had a very personal idea of what he really liked was listening to birds sing, and that was God to him was just this kind of quality of serenity. And a really interesting thing I learned from reading his book is that he wanted rhythm. All my life I thought of rhythm as something that makes things go forward.
Right.
And he wanted rhythm to be static, to represent this serenity of what he called God, which I would just call serenity or something else, you know.
Yeah.
But that's, and he wanted the tonal material to do similar kind of things. He wanted it to stop moving instead of to keep moving. And because music's about time, you can't stop it.
Right.
It has to exist in time, so that he had ways of making it in time.
He had ways of making time stop in a way.
That's the idea, and that's what he wants. It's very meditative, and the organ music is really beautiful. And I think of all these instruments as like wanting the same thing. Like if the organ's the most magnificent instrument played from a single set of hands and feet in a single place. So it's the ultimate composer thing. Unlike a piano, just sounds like a piano.
Right.
But organs, you have trumpet things, and you have flute things, and you have reed pipes, and you have all these different sounds you can make. And I think before the current era, where we can record things and stuff like that, that was the only way you got to do that.
To span all of those different sounds,
Right. And I think, like, say you're drawn to this, right? Who has organs? Well, big churches have organs. Nobody else has organs. Like, there's a few here and there, but like the most awesome organs are in cathedrals. So you better fucking be a Catholic. Or, you know, and there's Protestant organs too. I think the Ascension's Episcopal Church, and they have a nice organ. But you got to be in a church to do that.
Right.
So, like, if you want to call whatever you want to call God, so that you get to play the organ, then that's what you're going to do.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
So I kind of think an orchestra is I had the same impulse. I wanted, like, lots of sounds. I never particularly loved being stuck with this one instrument to play. You know, just the way I think about music is more about putting all these sounds together and stuff like that.
Yeah, how do I get a chance to do that if I'm not part of the church?
Right. So I think, like, an orchestra is kind of like an organ that I build. This is for when I play it by myself, which is a lot, you know. I mean, when other people play it, then it's our organ, which I think is cooler than an organ in a way. But, like, you know, me recording is like him playing the organ, and you pull out this stop, and you, like, you know, and they have the different keyboards, so you can, like, put all these things in juxtaposition with each other, and you know, and it's a cool thing.
Yeah.
And the unfortunate, like, these days I wouldn't aspire to be an organ player because, like, you don't get string sounds, and you don't get drums, and you don't get xylophones and things like that. Like, so, you know, you're really stuck with just wind instruments.
Right.
But that's how that. Another thing that's organ-like about this is that you just need lots and lots of them. Like an organ needs, like, hundreds of pipes. Like big giant cathedral organs have, like, I don't know how many they have, but they probably have like 100 and more pipes. There's pipes all over the place.
So many.
Really beautiful.
Yeah.
And so the wind part of an orchestra is kind of like that. Is there's all these, you don't use them all at once, and you obviously can't play them all at the same time, but you get all these pipes. And they have different qualities. Here's a square one. That plays a little minor scale. Each scale needs its own one. Here's another little square one. So that plays whole tones.
Yes.
Then there's the more traditional kind. This is the first flute I ever made.
I love it. The more traditional kind. That's so great.
Where I still think this I find actually is kind of uncomfortable.
It
Like
is,
standard flute playing. And standard flutes sound good. That one is not particularly great. But very quickly on, these are all sort of early ones. And so they're like, this is much more comfortable than this.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, that probably looks good in the army. I don't know really why
where did that come from?
Well, because you get to blow a cross.
Right.
But I really like.
Just put a tube on it.
So that plays a chromatic scale.
Beautiful.
And so anyway, there are just.
So how did you figure out how to make them, where to drill the holes, etc.?
The way that you do that is first you get your whole pipe,
Uh-huh.
you know, and you make this part.
And the top part is what?
The top part is, this is easier than, you could make that so that you just blew it and control it with your mouth.
Right.
But that's harder to do, and each one is different.
Gotcha.
And so this just makes it easy. You can just pick it up and, you know, anybody can play this.
It forces the air in a
it takes that
single.
This is what's hard on a flute, is to get your embouchure right. You know, and it's kind of difficult. And most people, when they first play a flute, like, pass out.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. I remember first playing the wind instruments. I got into such a meditation and almost really passed out.
So this just makes it easier which is why like, if I had to learn the individual quirks of playing, there's got to be 50 or 60 flutes that I make.
Yeah.
You know,
because it's so beautiful all together like this too.
And each one has its own scale.
Okay.
So that the thing about doing this is another little tangent, is that you have this many fingers. You know, so the most you could have is like 10 that you move, but if you took all your fingers off, it would fall on the ground.
Right.
So you can maybe get 9 notes or 8 notes out of them, and then you have a thing about how far your pinkies reach and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So on a basic penny whistle idea is you have 6 holes for 3 fingers and 3 fingers, and the other ones can just kind of steady it.
Steady.
Or, you know. So anyway, when you're making one, the first thing you make is this.
Okay.
So that, and there would be no holes there, so you just get. And the trick of it is getting those to be so they're kind of a true octave to each other. If this is a little different positions, that high note will be sharp or flat.
Gotcha.
So you have to get that position right, so it blows easily. And then the next thing is the length of the tube. So you cut off the tube until you get to that note that you want.
Right.
If this was this long, it would be
different.
lower.
Yeah.
So you cut it off till it's the way you want it. Then you start drilling holes, and you drill the first hole first.
Okay.
And you widen that hole until it gets up to the pitch that you want. And the next one, and the next one, and you just proceed up. When I first made my first flute, this is why this sounds so terrible, was I just kind of put holes where I thought they maybe should go.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
It was very comfortable for my hand.
Yeah.
You know, but it doesn't make anything recognizable as a tempered scale thing. Not that I care about the tempered scale particularly. I don't think any of these plays a true tempered scale, you know, because you kind of make them so they sound good within themselves for what you want to play with them.
Right.
And so they're very simple to make. That's another reason there's so many of them, is once you know how to do this,
once you get it
this
down.
right, that's the only really hard part in this, is getting
that angle.
That angle.
Right.
Yeah, it needs the angle and there's distance from it, and they're sensitive there. Like this one doesn't sound like. This one has more air in it.
Yep.
You know, that's sort of. This one is more like.
Yeah. Okay. I see, and it's less of the end of the pipe is exposed. Yeah. Kind of like
it's
comes
more.
out.
Yeah, it gets a relationship with this edge that it makes there, and that's.
So these are edge toned.
These are all edge toned.
Got it.
And they all, every single one is a little bit different, you know.
Nice.
And so like just. Yeah, so you just end up making a lot of them.
Yeah.
You know, like you could have one and play it in the same thing all the time, or like a few. You know, it's like the most traditional flutes don't have all those extra keys like the Bohemian Western flute does.
Right.
And and there's a lot of great music on them. You know.
Yeah.
It's just you have to have a lot of them if you want to like, you know, you play this one on this kind of song and that one on that kind of song and like that.
Right.
And in non-Western music, what people wanted from their music was that we're playing this here and we have these instruments, and so it sounds like us here playing these instruments.
Right.
Where like Western music wants to sound the same, whether it's in Berlin or Philadelphia or Hong Kong or whatever. It's got this uniformity thing to it. And that desire for that doesn't exist in anybody else's music except European and Euro-American now music. That's like just a stupid idea of music to most people, including me.
Yeah.
You know, and so the idea that you would have lots of these things to do this with, like that means you can make lots of different kinds of music.
Right.
Instead of having like just one where everything was the same. And,
Gotcha. Have you done any recordings with just wind instruments, like getting as many people to play winds Is possible?
Not with a group.
That would be cool. A cool thing to do.
It would. I'd love to find like, some like saxophone players or something, because people just make horrible sounds on reeds.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Until they get the hang of it.
Yeah.
Some people, I had one friend, and she just couldn't get the flute thing. The only thing you have to know to play a flute is that this finger comes off, and then this finger, and then this finger.
Right.
And she just like kept wanting to
go all over
kind
the
of
place.
make chords with it, like if you were playing a piano, like sometimes you use a finger and sometimes
Oh
you
yeah.
don't. And so it always just kind of sounded like, which was okay, but she just couldn't get this like.
Right, because it will affect it if you have one.
Yeah, if you leave this one open. No matter what you do with these, say you just have those two open, they don't really
do anything. Yeah.
Well, you hear them
a little bit, but
but not too
interesting.
much.
Cool.
So flutes are, anybody could play flutes. We did with Desmond playing the flute. Francine and I played 2 reeds together in a parade a few years ago. That was kind of cool. So we had 2 reeds, but other than that, I don't meet many people who can actually like really control a reed for more than a few minutes before they start squeaking and squawking.
Yeah. Yeah, it takes some discipline.
Yeah, it's a little practice. It's a knack, and you get the knack.
Nice. Cool.
So.
It's a pleasure to meet the
flutes. That was the
flutes.
flute. There's many more edge tones to go. So but they're different. Flutes just work like this. There's round ones, there's square ones, there's long ones, there's short ones. That's probably the littlest one.
Let's see some of those.
Here's a little baby one.
Ooh.
That's a whole tone scale.
Nice.
And you can make like.
Oh, cool.
So you can do more things with them.
Based on what you do with your
Based on what you do. But basically, like as a simple thing, playing a simple skill, they're easy to play and they're also easy to make.
Hear that, folks? Go ahead, make some flutes.
Yeah, anybody could do this.
Yeah,
like
easy stuff.
Once you get this that thing's a tricky thing. It's a hard well actually to do those.
Right.
But if you figured out a better way to do it, then
good on you.
But other than that, then it's just like you just drill a hole till you like it, and drill the next hole till you like it, and that shouldn't take you more than like an hour or something.
Yeah. Nice.
And the square ones are nice. Another thing about square ones.
Yeah, how does that affect the sound, square versus round tuning?
They're a little more stable.
To hold or to hold the note?
No, to hold the note.
Got it.
No matter how much you breathe, they kind of stay the same. I don't know if this would be a good example of that or not. You can see that going back and forth. Like I have to blow this more carefully. It's a very slight difference that makes it jump.
Got it.
And these, it's more stable that way.
Okay.
The other thing, the reason I did them at first is because it's just easier to make
to weld that top
a square
part.
thing than it is a round thing.
Right.
It's just a little
holding
bit
it, clamping it.
Because it has to be at this angle.
Yep.
The angle is important. It wants an angle of about 20 degrees.
Okay.
For this, it's between the air coming from here and the far edge of this edge. That's where the whole
that's
sound
where the
is
action
about.
comes.
Yeah, so they're tilting this differently, and it's just easier. You can hold this and put this flat and boom, do that, and it's easier to make.
Gotcha.
But I only kind of make square flutes now because they're a little more stable. And I suspect that the only reason they didn't start out making square flutes in the old days is because before there were modern tools and equipment, squares were difficult.